Hey, it's Becky, and today I'm going to be talking about Soul of the Sword by Julie Kagawa. Soul of the Sword is the second book in her Shadow of the Fox series. Just really love the entire series, so I'm really excited to talk to you about the second book today. It's a YA fantasy that's heavily inspired by Japanese folklore and myth, and whilst this review is going to be spoiler free for this book, please, if you've not read the first book, there might be some spoilers for you in that aspect. So if you haven't read the first book and want to, and you don't want any spoilers, please do just click straight off. Second book follows Yumeko as she tries to get her piece of the dragon scroll, which her temple was protecting, to another place to be protected even more. But when Tatsumi, who was her guide and protector, is taken over by the demon that is in his sword, lots of other things start happening, and her task is so much harder trying to get the scroll to its protectors because Tatsumi was actually her protector in the first book, and she feels a little bit lost without him, and she doesn't quite know whether he'll be able to be saved. The demon has actually made a deal with the Master of Demons and is causing loads of destruction all around this world. But the bad thing is that they can't just destroy the world, they actually need the Dragon Scroll as well, which is why they are after Yumeko and friends, because they're going to try and make a wish with the scroll and drop the rest of this world into darkness and destruction and basically hell. One of the key things that really stood out to me about Soul and the Sword was that it just wasn't as gripping as some of Kagawa's other books. I don't know whether I was in a reading slump or something else happened, but I just wasn't as entranced with it. I wasn't trying to read as much as I could, which I think is what happened with the Iron Face series and the Talon series. So whilst it wasn't as gripping as it could, I did kind of still want to know what was going to happen to these characters. So I think whilst the plot was maybe slower, I think the character development actually really helped. It could also be a little bit of second book syndrome, but again, I may have been in a slump, so I'm not quite sure. Soul of the Sword really does expand on the world building that the first book started off, and I really do enjoy world building in fantasy books. However, I do think that in places the world building was done not as well as it could have been. A lot of the information was kind of dropped in randomly, often in huge paragraphs of text, and in places where you just wouldn't expect this information to come from. For example, we learned all about the Water Clan basically from a Hakaimono chapter, and he wants to destroy the whole world. I don't see why he was thinking, because it was kind of in his head as we were reading along. I don't know why he was thinking all this about the Water Clan, as it doesn't seem like a demon would be thinking about these things, but that's how we learn all about the clan. And just little things like that just kind of pulled me out of the book a bit, which I do think helped me not feeling as gripped to what was happening. But despite the fact that I didn't like the way it was told, I did like knowing all of this. I am someone that really enjoys knowing everything about a world. I'm the kind of person that, with Lord of the Rings, reads up about it online and wants to know more and more. So whilst this did harm my reading, I did still enjoy it, and it might not be for all readers though. So if you do think this would pull you straight out of a book, then maybe it isn't for you. On to good things though. What I've really enjoyed was Yumeko as a character. She really grew throughout this book, and she really developed as a character, and she developed into herself and matured into her powers, which I really enjoyed watching. At the beginning of the first book, she'd been kind of trained to hide her kitsune powers and to kind of just not be herself, whereas in the second book she's definitely coming into her own. She's now got friends who she likes, and she doesn't need to hide her powers anymore as they help her in her life. Plus it definitely helps that because she's using her powers more, we're seeing way more magic in this book than the first one, which actually made me enjoy it a little bit more than Shadow and the Fox, just on the magic system aspect. However, whilst Yumeko was definitely developed upon and her character was definitely matured, other characters weren't given the same treatment. So Tatsumi was possessed for most of this book, so we didn't really see him do anything. We saw some of his thought processes, but he didn't really seem to do much in this book, which really harmed the development he could have done. Him being in basically his own version of hell, where he's stuck inside his body watching his body destroy things, I guess, probably did develop him a little bit, which I'm assuming we will see in the third book maybe. However, it's not shown in this book as much as it could have been. The good thing is that he does figure out what he wants in his life, which I thought was a good thing for him to mature about. So whilst his point of views really didn't drive the story forward at all. We got these little snippets which did help a little bit. Speaking of characters, there is a little bit of a gay subplot, but I was disappointed at how unexplicit it was that it was a gay relationship. I don't quite know what to feel about it because I am normally one that doesn't want romance subplots at all in my fantasy books because I, in general, don't really care that much. However, I'm disappointed that it wasn't explicitly said that they were gay, and it was just from, so it was basically the setup was it was seen from a point of view who didn't know what was happening. I'm hoping it's explored a lot more in the final book, and I hope it gets better in the writing, as it would be really nice to see these characters kind of get together, be explicitly so, and to not be judged for it, but I'm not sure what's going to happen at this point. In this book we also got to meet lots of different new people and clans, and there's a lot of politics underlying. So for example, the Shadow Clan is such a mysterious force, and I am so intrigued about the magics they have. They're called the Shadow Clan. It's a lot of kind of dark magic. The leader of the clan may or may not have prolonged her life in some way, and it's very secretive and mysterious. I don't think we're going to go back to the Shadow Clan, but if we don't, I really hope Julie maybe writes some spin-off books about someone in a clan like that, because I found it so interesting. So overall, I really did enjoy the book despite its possible second book syndrome, and I will definitely be reading the final book, and hopefully this series as a whole will really hold up as a good series like Kagawa's other books, because I do really like her writing. And I'm also really excited to see how Yumeko really develops into her powers even more, because I'm sure she's not at her strongest yet. Thank you guys for watching, and I really hope to see you again soon.